Welcome. This week, I was hoping to start a discussion around mental health and the way we look at mental health. Particularly, a long time ago, so there was a French philosopher whose name was Michel Foucault. This is him up here. And he was around in 1960s, 1980s, around that sort of era. And he liked to challenge the status quo and look at things from a different perspective. One thing he looked at through time, through history. So back in the days of Greece and stuff like that, people with poor mental health or were considered crazy were left to their own devices, sort of thing. Were left in society and are often considered valuable people in society, which was rather interesting. That they actually took on this thing of what they had to offer, that the way they looked at the world was different, and that was a valuable thing to understand and to take in those times, that maybe they're not wrong. And recently I've been looking at this and thinking about it, and honestly I'm very conflicted with a lot of this. I think the way we treat people with mental ill health can be fairly appalling. One thing I think of is if someone gets sick with food poisoning and your body starts to get rid of all the bad stuff, so you're vomiting or whatever to get it out of your system, so to pass this food poisoning, the stuff which isn't in there. I believe that sometimes, not all the time, mental health, we're too eager to put labels and stamps on this stuff. What if it's the body in the same way trying to process and get rid of the things which has happened to us, the things which we're struggling with, and instead of dealing with these problems behind it and letting the body deal with it and going through the process of removing the problems in our life or the things which have affected us and made us like this, that we label it, we put a stamp on it, and we give them medication to make them more what we presume to be normal. What if we could love these people, work with them, hold them, and find out what the cause of this problem really is, and let them purge it out of their body? Just like what happens when you have food poisoning. I have no medical degrees or anything, this is just me just thinking out loud, and that's what this space is about, is the idea of having these conversations. Please have your input. But it is interesting that a lot of the great composers and artists and all these sort of things, they often say it's a fine line between madness and creativity and genius. Are we not listening to our fellow brothers and sisters who are struggling with poor mental ill health? Are we stepping away from what we used to do in the past, where we embrace these people, let them live their way? Now, I'm not saying that's right for everyone by any means. There is genuine mental ill health, which I believe needs to be medicated and looked after. But I do think that perhaps we're too quick, too keen to label it and put them away somewhere, sort of thing, so they can't be seen, or to try and make them fit some ideal of what we think is normal. Please join the conversation. Underneath, I've written a little article about Michel Foucault, who we were talking about earlier, and just some of his ideas when looking at this. And please, take your time, have a read. I think this guy's a genius. I love his stuff. But really, have a read and engage. Let's have a conversation around this. What do you think? What have you seen about mental ill health out there and the way we deal with it? Do you think as Christians, as people trying to do better to this community to repair our world, there is something we can do to help out here? Is it time that we let these guys speak and just see if there's genius in the madness? All right, we'll look forward to talking to you again next time.